Welcome to Sydney Art Film Academy's showreel of artist interviews, created by our Certificate 4 classes. Through finding the story, full pre-production and with great teamwork, these short documentary films show what can be achieved in just one semester of learning. Let's now look at the astounding fantasy art of Graham Bolshan.
Journey as an artist. I started painting, or at least drawing. I was a voracious drawer. I think I can remember back to when I was almost 3. Once I went to school, I used to pull a lot of sickies just so I could stay at home and draw. I didn't actually start painting for quite some time because back in my day, paints and that weren't readily available like they are now. You had to go to specialist shops to buy paint. I think the first time I ever painted for real, in a sense, was I went out on my push bike with a bag full of shoe cleaner and charcoal, and found a dead tree, so it was just grey, I could use those colours, and I painted this whole dead tree, Dad saw what I did, and he says, "Oh, there's a bloke at work, he paints, I'll show it to him, And then I met him, and he was a watercolourist, and he gave me some tips, gave me some paints, and I started getting a bit more further into it, but it's been there all my life, definitely. So I was still trying to comprehend. I didn't think I was doing anything different, but other people did, and it was a while before I realised that I was going to go down the painter's path, It wasn't until I started work that flourish started to hit, because the foreman at work, his father was an artist, and he says, "I'll take you up to meet Dad," and I went up and met, and we went out in the bush, and in like 3 hours, he taught me so much more than anybody had ever taught me in my life, and that's when I think I had success, and that's when I thought, this is what I want to do. I kept at it, and I wound up winning an art prize out towards Blacktown Way as the best local artist, which, that sort of thing really inspires you. So I got some money, and I thought, well, I could do something here, So I went out into the bush painting again, and people used to come up to me in the paddock, look at the painting and go, "Oh, I want to buy that," and I'd say, "It's not finished." And they'd say, "Well, yeah, but I'll wait, it looks good already, I want it, So I was starting to sell things out of the paddock, and I thought, all right, I'm going to get into art, I'm going to leave the job behind and do art. And then a year later, or 2 years later, you look back at what you were doing and you think, no, I didn't make it then, I'm making it now, like this is 2 years learning. And then a year and a half down the track, you did that again. And then another year down the track, you do it again. And you think, yeah, okay, I'm never going to be there. I'm never going to know it all. It's too much. And I love the journey. And if I ever thought, I think for sure, if I ever thought I've made it, like I can now paint, I've done it, I can really do everything, I'd probably stop. You've reached the pinnacle, what's left? So I'm actually ignoring it now. I hope I never reach the pinnacle, I think that I always want to do the masterpiece, but I'm not going to pick it. The people who look at my work will eventually say that was his masterpiece, that was his best painting. I'd love to know which one it is.
We now look at the French muralist Francois Olivier and his life in art.
At the beginning, I start many things like a set designer, graphist, and, advertising, illustration, comics, many things I can touch to make painting and to practice, and also to discover many techniques and many possibilities to use my skill and my aim. Set designer was a good thing, but it was very difficult to get in on it. And in the same time, I was so curious and young, so I need money, so I make advertising. I have no choice if I want to make any living and a normal living. I have to make what I can do. My mother say I'm born with a brush in her hand because I was obsessive on doing painting when I was a kid. When I was 14, I started to exhibit and to sell my work. And 16, I continue that. And after that, I have to fly by myself. I don't know what else I can do anyway. The challenge to make big painting on a wall, it's something very challenging because you have to achieve that. And also it's a commission work, so you get paid for it. You have to satisfy customer, and it's also for public. So it's no question to express your own inner feeling on it. Mural, you always please people, because otherwise you impose some idea and stupid thing because nobody can agree on it. It's not the thing. On your painting, the people like or not like, you don't care. When you do your own art, you can put it on your studio and you just do it to satisfy yourself and you push the extreme on it because you don't have to please people. If I'm not satisfied, it's not finished. So sometimes it's what it takes time. And when I'm satisfied, I feel relaxed and in the same time very tired because I have to put so much of me on it. But after a recovery, the pleasure is there and the pleasure to have it done, to do it, and to see the people happy with it. I paint on the day on my studio, I don't paint at night. I don't have a light on my studio, only with the sun, because the colors are better and everything is better. So you wake up at 5 in the morning, and when the sunset happens, after the coffee, you start working. But you have the night, all the night to make some subject. When it's outside, I don't want to carry many things on it, and it's not necessary to have that. It's possible to do it with a minimum of it. I don't care to sit on the floor. When I make mural, I have to make the acrobat on the scaffold. So it's the same thing, when you are on the 7th floor with a thing and like this. With 3 colors, it's one part of the trick to be able to do everything. And also, it's quicker because you don't have to look on everything. And the colors are better because you really define the color. You don't depend on the pigment. If you use many colors, you depend on the pigment, on the texture and everything. With only 3 colors, you can do everything you want. You can see all of that 3 colors. Some subject can be very complicated. The challenge is to achieve the understanding of that. Not for me, for the people looking at the picture. And then my challenge is mostly to be easy to access because I don't want to put a notice close to my work to be understood. Any people, even if they cannot read, can read the picture. And you see, I live in many countries, and whatever the language, if you want to eat something, it's easy to draw a crab and you eat crabs. Okay. Don't have to learn the language. I will try to make something, make people happy, because I think it's good to show it's possible to be happy anyway. If I can bring that kind of feeling on a wall, I think it's the best I can do. And the best mural will be that. If you want to be an artist, you have to believe on yourself first, to make all your work with huge sincerity on it, because you cannot bullshit on that. And also to work very hard, because it's not a competition, it's the ability to make it good and to get the satisfaction to get it good. You have to work hard on it, to go deep, because otherwise everybody can do it. And art is something not so many people can do it. And don't desperate because sometimes it's very difficult, but many times it's so good.
The students also interviewed me about my book, White Woman, Black Art, my year on Ilko Island, as well as my painting. When I just become sort of totally frustrated sitting in one spot, I'll pull out a canvas and throw some paint on it and have a go. And what I'm working on, I mean, there's still got to be meaning to it. What I'm working on right now is a series of works based on happiness. So how do you express happiness? All right, first of all, you go, okay, what is happiness? What makes people happy? And then you go, okay, well, how am I going to put that in a visual image, in something that you know will make other people looking at it feel happy or think that it's a happy painting. I've already painted 3 or 4 that I've just taken off the canvas and painted over. I don't know. There's one that I'm sort of a bit happy, but that led to one painting which I've called Melancholy Baby, which is the opposite to happiness. But yes, so I'm playing around with that right now, and it is a challenge. I've got my favourite artist is John Olsen. If only I could paint like John Olsen, I'd be really happy. It'd be great. Nigel Messenger is an Australian contemporary art guru. Here he talks about what makes great art.
Oil, acrylic, enamels, glazes, varnishes, textures, all these things come to create what is an unusual or unusually good artwork that will stand out amongst the crowd. There's a lot of things that go into the decision about which artist is right in a commercial gallery scenario. There are other galleries that are looking for more esoteric works. In a commercial gallery, there are strong economic incentives to follow through with what we think might sell the best. People want the one big work, they want the impact of a larger scale of work. We have a strong focus on sculpture, and in the past, sculpture has always been the little brother of the painting. As a result of many exhibitions and promotions, sculpture has developed a much greater profile, and people seem not so nervous about accepting a 3D form, accepting something with a bit of scale, and sculpture has played a big part in the galleries last decade, you might say. Soho Galleries has long been a standout in terms of its representation on the internet. The galleries have had to adapt to that change, and some couldn't do that effectively, and there's been a great attrition in the number of commercial galleries that are presently running in the city. I've tried to do my best to adapt to these changing business circumstances by offering different eyes to view that same work. There'll be secondary exhibitions, and even third opportunities to show the same work in a variety of different areas. I think that's a critical part of getting the work out, because it's so much more difficult in getting the people into a certain space.
Well-known Indigenous artist Wallanari has a deep story to tell through his art.
When I started to paint, I sort of realised that it was a part of like a meditative process. But it was a good way to learn my culture and to understand what our dream time was all about, and how that was incorporated into our visual arts as well as our performing arts, because they're all linked. Music, dance and song and storytelling, and it was a way of regaining some of my identity in a way as an Aboriginal man. The whole idea of dot paintings, even the use of a stick is all contemporary, so it's a modern way of painting, because traditionally we only did sand paintings and rock paintings, and also on our body, of course, we would paint it. But the whole idea of dots is a bit of a misnomer. It's actually three-dimensional shape. And when we did our sand paintings, the sand paintings are the original genesis of dot paintings, because when our way of looking at the world is an aerial view. So when we look down on the sand painting, it looks two-dimensional. But when you shift the angle, you'll see that it's actually a three-dimensional shape, that actually a pile. It's a way of me presenting storylines to people who don't understand the dream time. But the dream time was something that captured my mind, you know, and I tried to understand what that was all about, you know, and how to then encapsulate that dreaming story on canvas, you know, in a way that was understood by many, many different cultures. A lot of my inspiration is exploring concepts rather than actual places or things. So the dream time is a concept, and you know, so it's a way of exploring things like fractal geometry, which is part of the chaos theory, which is the way I paint, because in chaos there's perfect order. Exploring you know, the inner psyche of what art and how art can actually reflect on you and change you as a person. A scientist who understood space told me that my paintings looked like the universe. And then when I spoke to a botanist, he said it looked like all the seeds and flowers. And then when I spoke to a doctor, he said it looked like the cell structures. And then when I spoke to my surfing mates, they said it was the coral reefs. Originally, when I first started painting, I could only paint in earth colours. My first 500 paintings, you don't see any lines, and you don't see any blue. And then after that, once my family told me that I have a story called Blue Lightning, and that one of my stories was also rainbow, dreaming, so then I was able to incorporate the blue into my paintings, because our understanding of blue in Aboriginal culture is that that colour belongs to God, and humans we only use earth colours. But as part of our revival and renaissance in Aboriginal culture, we're able to utilise the colours of the rainbow. When I first start, I create a whole range of hidden shapes, and then what I do is I accentuate those hidden shapes, and I bring the hidden shapes out rather than the obvious shapes that you see. When you look at the Milky Way, everybody looks at the Milky Way and they see the stars, but there's a hidden black shape where there's an absence of light, and that absence of light is actually the emu. And that emu is a keeper of our law and culture.
The Milky Way
Dreaming
is a story that comes from the Aranda people and the Luritja people. It's a story that tells of us of our ancestors and also our belief in our Creator. When we pass away, our soul goes to heaven, and the Milky Way is heaven. It's a way of viewing our ancestors. So when we look up into the sky, we can always see that our ancestors are always looking down on us.
To really understand my secrets, you really have to explore my paintings. And then once you start to explore my paintings, you actually explore yourself.
We hope you have enjoyed these stories as much as the students enjoyed getting them from concept to screen. Look out for more work from these talented people. Thanks for watching.